today. It's cold and windy, and we knew it was coming. All those people that thought that summer was here, well, you know what? It wasn't, and it's not. So we have to enjoy a little bit more of this wintry weather, but that's okay. I think it's part of this living in a place that has seasons, which is lovely. So enjoying the cold, stay inside, keep warm, and cook. Good morning, Pam. Good to see you here. Hello, everybody. All right, let's start. So this week, for those who don't know, the Jewish people, we are celebrating, or we are celebrating is the wrong word, isn't it? We will be having the Day of Atonement, which is Yom Kippur, on Thursday, which is the day that we're supposed to atone for all our sins in the previous year. It's sort of quite a good deal in the sense that you can, you know, I guess, not be perfect all year, as we all are, and then you can repent for all these sins, or atone for all these sins on Thursday. And you know what? I'm not such a religious person, but I am a traditional person. And when we talk tradition, we talk about what do we eat to start the fast on Wednesday afternoon, and what do we eat to finish the fast on Thursday night. There's got to be honey in something, because honey, we're still in the New Year celebration period, so we've got to keep eating honey so we can be assured of having a sweet New Year. So everybody, Jewish or not, eat lots of honey. You can just jump on this New Year bandwagon. There's no exclusivity in this at all. We should all just have a new start from this week and eat lots of honey to help it get off on the right foot. As far as breaking the fast, that's a very, very hot topic, because I got lots of messages that said, you know, why would you break the fast with cholent, which is a heavy meat dish? And I get that, but that's what we did in my family growing up. But a lot of people break it with a dairy meal. Some people break it with scrambled eggs and toast. Like, you can do whatever you like. You know, it's just something that it's your choice. But I think that an essential element of the fast is to break it with a bite of honey cake. So the first thing I'm going to eat after I finish the fast, or anyone in my family, will be a bite of honey cake, and that's what these are for, okay? So let's talk ingredients for honey cake. And Thalia, I will talk about the cholent ingredients at the end of the session. So let's talk apple and honey cupcakes. So this amount of the recipe makes about 6 really big, or 9 normal size, and about 12 small cupcakes, okay? And you just need to adjust the cooking time depending on the size of your cupcakes. It's easy, and I'll show you how to do it. So let's go through the ingredients. Honey cakes, this is the same base recipe that is in our honey cake, but I've adjusted it slightly. Natanya and I got together a couple of weeks ago and developed this new recipe, new version of the recipe for Harris Farm, and that's what this one is here. It has an apple in it, which just adds a new dimension. Okay, so let's talk about wet ingredients and dry ingredients. So for the wet, we'll do the dry ingredients first. Okay, I'm just going to get a bowl. And, oh, you know what, I've got a bowl right here. Let's get a bowl and a colander or a sieve. And I'm going to sift the dry ingredients, or put them together in a bowl and mix them with a whisk, okay? So for the dry ingredients, I have 55 grams of plain flour. Now, I did put the gluten-free version on the Instagram post, and it really, really works well with Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour and 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder instead of the 2 different flours, okay? So that's 55 grams of plain flour, 55 grams of self-raising flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda. And remember, this is baking soda, not baking powder. We're using soda because we've got an acidic element in it. We've got honey in this recipe, and the baking soda reacts with that to create air and leavening. Am I freezing up? Thank you for that feedback. Am I freezing up for everyone? Can everyone just give me some feedback, because maybe I will change to 4G. I think I'll do that. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to change to 4G rather than, just bear with me for 1 second. Okay. How's that? Is that better? Was I freezing up for everybody? Okay, well, now I'm crooked, sorry. Now I'm on 4G, we'll see if that works. Okay, it's really hard to tell if it's your area or my area that's freezing up. We're just so reliant, and now my head's cut off. Sorry, I'm just going to run back and forth for 3 hours while we sort this out. We'll get there eventually. All right, let's try that one. It's all my setup here is very, very unprofessional because I've got this stand and it's balancing on boxes. You happy with that? All right, can you hear me now? Is that good? All right, back to the dry ingredients. Okay, so we have 5 grams of plain flour, 55 grams of self-raising flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, and I've got 1/4 teaspoon each of ground ginger, cinnamon, and mixed spice. So 3/4 teaspoon of spices. You can use whatever you like. If you just want a ginger and honey cake, just use ginger. As long as you've got 3/4 teaspoon of spice, that's great. And I'm going to add that into the dry ingredients. Okay, so I have in here baking soda, spices, and the 2 measured amounts of flour. Okay, I've put them into the sieve, and I'm going to just mix. It mixes and lightens as we go, but you can do it in a bowl. Okay, so I'm just going to mix these nicely, and I'm going to put in a pinch of salt in a sec. But actually, I'm going to put the salt into the. Okay, that's it. Into the wet ingredients. So that's my dry ingredients. Set that aside. Okay, is everyone with me who's cooking along? Okay, now let's talk wet ingredients. So we have, the sugar goes in the wet ingredients. I know it's not a wet ingredients, but we mix the sugar with the wet ingredients. So we've just got the flours, the baking soda, and the spices in there. And now in a separate bowl, which is going to be your mixing bowl, which is going to have the whole cake, we're going to put in what I call the wet ingredients, okay? We need 1 egg, which I'm going to put in first. I've got a funny thing I do with my eggs. My sink is like way over there, like about 3 meters away. And I like to throw the egg from here, the shell, and get it in the sink. And I reckon 19 times out of 20, I get it in. You know, it's just like a fun thing to do. Let's see. Do you know what it did? It rebounded off the tap and into the sink. Like, how good is that? Sydney, I don't know if you can just use self-raising flour. It's a very liquid cake and it rises a lot. So, you know what? You can try it. I haven't actually done it before. Isn't that funny? It's a good question though. Okay, in here I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, just a half a teaspoon. And I'm using that beautiful vanilla paste from Simon Johnson that I was talking about the other week, which is the Nielsen Massey vanilla paste. I'm going to add 50 mils, which is just under 1/4 cup, which is 2.5 tablespoons of oil. I'm using just grapeseed, so use canola, vegetable, any plain flavoured oil. Putting all the wet ingredients together in here, okay? Except for the tea at this point, and the sugar. But I'm not going to put the sugar in yet because I just want to tell you something. I'm just going to grab my scales. This is, and I think those of you who were with me last week for the honey cake know that this is how I measure honey. I find it annoying to measure it into a container. If I'm doing something ahead of time, it just sticks, even if you put oil in. So I just do it directly into the wet ingredients, and we need 125 grams of honey, okay? Which is a heaped 1/3 cup. So I'm just going to put the scales on. I'm just going to you know what? Yeah, okay, 125. So I have to concentrate. And I have to stop it just in time. I'm going to stop it just before it gets to 125. This is fun. This is like plain chicken. 118. Okay, 128. That is absolutely fine. So that's my honey measured. Didn't have to worry about getting it out of a measuring cup or anything. It's just in there now. And I'm going to add my sugar. Remember the thing about not putting sugar on egg yolks if you're going to let it sit there. It's always better to mix it as soon as you put it in. So I'm just going to put the sugar at the side. It's not touching the egg yolk at the moment just because I'm talking, okay? So I've also got a quarter of a cup of tea, which I'm not going to put in yet. So that's the only thing that I'm not putting in yet. So I've got my dry ingredients in a bowl, which I've sifted together. I've got my quarter of a cup of tea in a separate thing, and I've got with the rest of my ingredients in here. I've got an egg, I've got 85 grams of caster sugar, I've got 50 mils of oil, I have 125 grams of honey measured exactly, and I have a little bit of vanilla, okay? I'm now going to mix it all together. And then we'll talk about, what I should say is put your oven on to 180. I should have said that before we started. 180 degrees conventional temperature. I'm just going to whisk this together. Sorry about the noise. Put in a pinch of salt. Thank you, Aura. Thank you. Scrape down as I go. You can also do this in the stand mixer. Perfect in the stand mixer. You just want it to be light and aerated, okay, a bit, and smooth. Give it a minute, go a minute. I won't talk because it's noisy. Yeah, smells so good. Do me. Okay, so I now have my wet mixture, my dry mixture and my tea, and I need to get my apple ready. So I'm just going to put this aside, and I also need to get my pan ready. Now, you're going to need a muffin tin, because if you put the cupcake patty pans, cupcake liners, on a tray on their own, this mixture is liquid and heavy, and I think they'll just spread and they won't rise unless they're quite solid. You really need a structure underneath it to hold it. I just bought these from, I had some beautiful ones that I bought at the Bay Tree in Sydney, which were bigger than this, which makes 6, and they were lovely and beautiful. These I bought from Peters of Kensington. I just did an online order last week, and they're nice, but they're a bit smaller. Lisa was asking me this morning, you can also make your own with baking paper. I know Natanya's done it. You just need to Google how to make patty pans or cupcake liners with baking paper, and it shows you how to do it. So I'm just going to take mine, and these, I call these a medium size. They're not that big, and I'm going to need 9. Okay, so I'm just going to take them out and put them in. You can do the same. If you want to make this in a loaf tin, it's a very small amount of mixture. It would be a tiny little loaf tin. You'd have to double the mixture for a loaf tin, okay? I'm just going to put my patty pans in. They're quite lovely. Last time I did them in brown, and it's hard to see the cupcake, so I thought I'd do white this time. I did order brown as well, though. So 9 of these. Okay. I'm just going to set that aside for a moment and go to my apple. So the apple's just a lovely addition. It just lightens the cake a bit and just adds another element, which I always like doing. You know, shake up a recipe. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Woolworths has the cupcake things. If you're going to use little patty pans, they're really tiny. You probably make 12 to 15, I think. Okay, so all the supermarkets in Sydney seem to sell them, so that's good to know. All right, so I'm just going to peel the apple, and I don't know why, but remember you used to do that? You used to see what your boyfriend's name was going to be, and you used to go, do you remember this? A, B, C, D. D, amazing. Guess what my husband's name is? Danny. The problem is that if you fancy someone called Tom, you're never going to get him on the apple thing, right? Ever. You're never going to get that far. Or imagine Xavier. Seriously. Okay, so I take the top off, you know, the top and the bottom, and then I just go down the side in strips. Interesting thing, I just bought a new peeler from Oxo, and it is serrated. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. It's serrated, and so what it does is it leaves lines down the side of whatever you're peeling. And I don't know if I bought the wrong one or it's just the new one. It's very sharp, peels beautifully. Maybe it stops it from slipping. Anyway, yes, we're all remembering that apple thing. Just, you know, I'd forgotten about it till that moment when I touched it, and it just came back to me. Was it to see if who your boyfriend was going to be or something like that? Yum. All right, get the core away, and I'm going to grate. Oh, Alessi peelers. You know, I love Alessi things, but I've never had an Alessi peeler. I'll have to have a look. I do like the OXO ones because they've got the rubber handle, which makes it really easy. All right, just need a cup of tea. This is just exhausting, all this peeling. This is lovely. Nothing like a hot peppermint tea in the morning. How much baking soda? Don't be sorry. Ask questions all throughout. That's what I'm here for. We need a half a teaspoon of baking soda, 55 grams of plain flour, 55 grams self-raising flour, half a teaspoon of bicarb, and a quarter teaspoon each ginger, mixed spice, and cinnamon. What's a Fogo bin, Thalia? What's a Fogo bin? She says you get a Fogo bin. Fogo. I don't know. Fruit. I don't know. Can you tell me what Fogo stands for? All right. No. We're going to grate it on the coarse side. I always put it on a flat plate. It makes it much easier. And I don't want to peel my knuckles. I'm going to keep my palm doing the work, my fingers out of the way, okay? And I'm just going to grate around it, the core. Much easier than cutting it in pieces and grating it, okay? Right up to the core. Get a little pip in there, don't worry about it. Okay, so the gluten-free flour for this, you'll need 110 grams of Bob's red mill, 1-to-1, plus 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and then you add in the half a teaspoon of baking soda and the spices, okay? So you're just replacing the 110 grams of flour with flour and baking, with gluten-free flour and baking powder. Robin asks, is it better to weigh ingredients or can we use cups? I always prefer weighing. Always. You know, if 6 of us measured a cup of flour with a cup measure and then weighed it, we would have 6 different measurements. It's so much better to buy scales, and the ones I use are from the supermarket. They're just not expensive. It's really, really worth having. Liquids, you know, liquids I do buy in a cup measure by volume, but dry ingredients 100%, and butter and everything, always. Thalia, I do. We do put our food in the throwaways. I just threw it in the sink because that's just easier than my box, which I'm going to show you actually. So you're talking about it. This is my box. Is this what you mean? So I have this box. I have paper towel at the bottom. All my peels and things go in there, and put that in the green bin every week with our council. So I do that already. Feels, you know, and then I shout at my kids when I see orange peels in the bin, and so annoying, isn't it? I'm sure we all have that problem. There's someone in a house that doesn't follow the recycling rules. You know, like how hard is it seriously to put the paper and the glass in that bin? And you know, we're learning slowly in our house. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, yep, all the spice and the mixed spice. Sorry, Thalia, can you just ask your question again? I'm not sure what you're asking. Yes, Dorothy agrees with me about the scales. It's just much better. All right, so we have got our tins prepared. Just a reminder, I've put my little white tulip baking cups in here. But you can make your own if you Google it. In a muffin tin so they are supported. I have my dry mixture, my flour and spices and baking soda. Have 1/4 cup of tea, and I am ready to go. Okay, so just move that out of the way. I need a bit more space. So you can, I'm going to use my mixer, but you can do it by hand if you prefer, just on low. I'm just going to add in a bit of the flour. I'm going to add in a bit of the tea. I just like to alternate wet and dry, okay? And the rest of the flour and the rest of the tea, okay? Okay, I'm not sure what your question was about the allspice and the mixed spice. Oh, was it about allspice and mixed spice? Yeah, okay. So allspice is actually a berry, the allspice berry, and it's ground, and that's what allspice is. And mixed spice is a mixture of spices that spice companies sell. So I hope you heard that, you know, while the picture was going. Okay. This is a Cuisinart, and it's pretty good. I like it. I used to have a Breville, I think, or a Sunbeam, which I gave to Jessie, my daughter, I think. And this is a Cuisinart. It's good. I like it. The only thing I don't like about it is though the whisk attachment comes with one whisk only, and it doesn't seem to really whisk strongly enough, I must say. But it's pretty good. I've had it for a couple of years, and I'm happy with it. Okay, so I've got my wet ingredients and my apple, and I'm going to put my apple, not my wet ingredients, my batter I should say, already made. I'm going to put my apple and I'm just going to mix that through. And that's the batter, okay? So has everyone followed what I'm doing so far? I hope so, okay. Just getting that mix around, making sure it is lovely and mixed well. It's not going to be smooth obviously because you've got bits of apple. Okay. I just got a fright because I saw this over there and I thought, uh-oh, what have I forgotten? But it's not, it's for the icing. So I did that this morning. I have to own up. When I made the batch that I did earlier so you can see the finished product, I forgot to put the spices in. So I actually had them all in the patty pans ready to go. And then I looked at my bench and I saw my spices sitting there and I thought, oh, it's annoying. So what I did is I mixed the spices together and I divided it on top of all the patty pan on the batter. And then I got a little tiny stick and I mixed each one like that. And I think it worked out perfectly. So there you go. If you forget something, it doesn't matter. You can always add it in. All right. Now the trick here, the challenging bit here is how to get this into the patty pans. And you can, of course, use a spoon or a little ladle, but what I find is that if you use your spatula as a guide to stop it from getting too wide, you can pretty much pour it in sometimes. Well, no, that was bad. It's hard because I'm doing it backwards. So I would do it normally this way, but then you're not going to see anything. But that's what I'm doing. I'm using my spatula as a guide, and I'm filling it just under the rim of the muffin tin, okay? So it's probably about 2/3, each thing's probably about 2/3 of the way full. I'll show you, I've made a big mess. I just want to show you how I've gone just so that the muffin tin ends there, and I've gone about 4 millimeters under that, okay? Yeah, an ice cream scoop might be a good idea. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Where is my ice cream scoop? Yeah. Let's try this. It's a good idea. All right. Okay. That's so funny. Robin made Gina's honey cake and forgot the honey. Yeah. I've actually made a chocolate cake once, the celebration chocolate cake from our first and fourth book, and I forgot the eggs. I put it in the oven. It was in for about 10 minutes. Forgot the eggs. Took it out of the oven, tipped it back into the mixing bowl, added the eggs and put it back in. It was actually fantastic. So sometimes it doesn't matter. Let's see if this works. This is not probably the ice cream scoop that you meant, but that works all right. So something you can get it in without making a big mess on the sides. So let's just put it into our thing. Do it any way you want to get it in. I'm too impatient to spoon it in, to be honest. I need to sort of do it like this, but it will make a bit of a mess. So as I said, you have to judge if your patty pans or tulip cases or whatever you want to call them are bigger. You need to just fill them up accordingly, okay? Do not go more than 2/3 of the way up to the top, okay? Think about that. This mixture rises a lot. It really does. All right. So this makes 9 pretty perfectly. 9 of this size, okay? Okay, and Dorothy made Gina's honey cake and forgot the sugar. Yeah, we all do it all the time. We know that sinking feeling when your cake's in the oven and then you look on the bench and you see whatever it is you've measured and forgotten. I do it all the time because I'm always like rushing or doing 15 things at once. All right, these look great. Okay, yum. I'm just going to clean this up a bit. Hold on a sec. Does look messy. Just that one. All right, that'll do. Okay, going into the oven, 180 degrees for 30 minutes. Melanie, 1/4 cup of tea. Okay, just 1/4 cup. Into the oven, 30 minutes. And in my oven, they are exactly 30 minutes and they're perfectly ready. Okay, I'm just going to clean up my mess. Just bear with me for 1 sec. And then I'm going to make the icing. Okay, hold on a sec. Bear with me while I just throw these over here. I have to say, and I did say it last week, I'm actually becoming a little more enamoured with the purple chucks than I was last week, the week before. So I think purple's going to be the new colour, now that I've told you how all I hate it so much. Still like the blue, but the purple's actually not so bad. Yes, if you're using a fan-forced oven, I think it would be 160, 165. I say that this is the temperature, 180. Cook it on the temperature that you cook most cakes on, okay? That's 180 in my oven. And see how that goes. So whatever you would cook a butter cake on, or a chocolate cake, not the celebration one because that's cooked low and long. Okay, so cakes are in the oven. Okay, in the loaf tin, just make sure, Lisa, that you don't overfill it, okay? Even I know you're doing it in a loaf tin and you've doubled the recipe, I think. Don't overfill it. Don't fill it to more than 2/3 maximum. Even less, even halfway between a half and 2/3 is better for the cooking. And put some in patty pans or in something else. I think it needs 45 minutes in a loaf tin. Check it after 40. If you find it's too hot after 40 and cooking too much on the top but not set, I would turn it down to 160. Last week we were doing 25 and 25 at 180 and 160, and I found it wasn't quite cooked through. So try that. I hope that explains it. This is not in a book. This is a new recipe. We've just modified the original Gina's Honey Cupcake. We've added spices. In the new book, Now for Something Sweet, we have the spiced version of this cake without the apple. But we've added the apple in and the icing. Mary Ann, you've asked about when do we decide conventional versus fan-forced. All our recipes are in a conventional oven. It's a really hard thing because mine's a really old oven. I've had it for 20 years and it does have a fan, but it's old, so it doesn't circulate well. It doesn't increase the heat like new ones do. So we use my oven as the temperature, and everyone else tries them in their ovens, and that's so we've ended up with conventional. But there's no reason you can't cook any of these with the fan. There's no recipe that I can think of in any of our books that you couldn't just do it with the fan. Just adjust your temperature if it's hot, okay? Because I know that 180 in a regular oven is like 160, 165. Okay, so let's talk about icing. Some people don't think these cakes need icing, and I understand why, because they're just perfectly delicious without. But when you have the icing on this cake, it just adds the most luscious element on the top, and I think it takes it to another level. But if you just want them this week to start the fast or finish the fast, then I think they're lovely as they are. I'll show you what they look like. These are the ones I made this morning. Excuse my mess, but when I was stirring in the spices too late, I did make a mess all over them. But it's a beautiful, beautiful textured cake that is so soft and moist inside. The smell of the spices and the honey is just delicious. And like honey cake, these will be even better tomorrow, okay? And even better the next day. They really, really change overnight. I would put them in a container, in an airtight container, and the next day something happens to honey cake over a day or 2 or 3. Trust me on that one. They're nice now, but they're going to be even better in a couple of days. Yes, I did 30 minutes for this size and they were perfect. And for the bigger ones, maybe 35. Just see how you go. What I do is I put my hand gently on the top. If they're still liquid and wobbly, they're not cooked. And if I can feel that it's solid, gently with my palm, then I think they're ready, okay? So that's them. Let's do the icing. So this is just a lovely, simple cream cheese icing. I have got 125 grams of cream cheese, which is softened, and I really mean softened, okay? If it's coming from the fridge, you just can't make an icing out of it. You need to put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. My stove was on. I put mine on a plate on the stove that was turned off but still warm, just to get it soft, and your butter needs to be the same, okay? Otherwise you're just going to have trouble and you won't make a nice smooth icing. Yeah, chopped stem ginger would be delicious in the in the spiced loaf cake, Carm. I think that's a great idea. So we're going to start off by just whisking together or beating together. I'm just going to give these a little wipe with the same beater that I used, okay? You can do it by hand with a wooden spoon, by all means, okay? So this is just the butter and the cream cheese, okay, that I'm whisking together. Yum. This is the sort of thing you really want to. Because my butter and my cream cheese are so soft, they just come together really quickly and it's lovely. But I want it to be quite fluffy and light, and so I'm going to give it another minute. You'll have to bear with me with the noise, okay? Dorothy wants to know where to buy stem ginger. We buy the one in the jar from Butterham, I think. What do you... or Carm's in Canada, so that's really not going to help you, but it's in a jar. It's called... I don't know if it's called stem ginger, but Butterham make it, who make ginger from Queensland. So any good providor or fruit shop should have it, I think. All right, let's give this a whisk. I turned it up. I don't mind if it's high. Nothing can happen to it. So I've got 125 grams of cream cheese and 80 grams of unsalted butter. So give it a really good whisk in your machine, okay, or by hand. We've got an amazing pudding. You've just reminded me, Carm, in our third book. It's always about the food, called a crystallized ginger pudding, using crystallized ginger. It is absolutely delicious. And I'm not such a crystallized ginger fan. It is out of this world. Okay, so that's really lovely and creamy, okay? I'm still going to add a few more things, so I can just stop beating for the moment. I need a little bit of vanilla. I think vanilla is lovely. Just half a teaspoon. And I love how it looks in the icing, the paste, because you can see the little specks of vanilla. And then I'm going to add in my icing sugar, but I'm going to, if I add it all at once and beat it, it's going to be in my face. So I'm just going to add, like, let's say a third of it for starters, and just start it slowly. Oh, see, it already came out. And then I'm going to add a bit more. And I'm using icing, so true. I'm using icing sugar mixture. I just find it easier, and I always do. Okay, you're so right, Carm. I forgot to smell the vanilla, and I always do. I know. I'm getting towards the end of the recipe, and I'm just too excited to stop and smell the vanilla today. It's a shame, but thank you for reminding me. Okay, and again, last one. Start on slow. You don't want it all in your face. Okay, and we're just beating it till it's a really lovely smooth icing. Yum. Delicious, delicious, delicious. Just love this icing, really good. Alright, that'll do. You know, if you want to beat it more, by all means do. I just don't want to take up, you know, all this time with the beater going, so I've probably done it a little bit less than I would normally do it. Now what I'm going to get is really great piping bag things, which come in a roll. I bought them at Kitchen Warehouse, one of those kitchen shops, and you just tear them off. You know, piping's fancy, right? So you don't have to pipe it, but I'll show you how easy it is if you have these things, okay? So you pretty much, it's easier if you get a cup like that and put it in, and then you get a spoon. I'm just going to get a spoon and my scissors. Hold on a sec. Okay, sorry, I'm here. Just going to get a spoon. It was 140 grams of icing sugar, so 125 cream cheese, 80 butter, unsalted butter, softened, and a little bit of vanilla, and 140 grams of icing sugar. And I'm just going to put the icing in here. Okay. You can just, don't have to do it all, because I'll show you the other way of doing it. And then you unfold it. And you squeeze all the mixture down to the bottom of the bag. They're really good because they're disposable. You don't have to wash them. You don't have to do anything with them. I know it's not great for the environment. Please don't judge me. I have not put any lemon juice in this, but you could by all means. It's just not, I just didn't think it needed it. But you could by all means put lemon juice. So we've just got to get it down into the bottom. It's quite thick. This might take a few minutes. So I'm not looking for a fine piping end. I just wanted something so I can do a nice little swirl on it, okay? Nothing fancy, just something nice, okay? And I've just got to push this mixture down. It's very thick. All right. Just bear with me while I shove it down. So yes, I know that some of you are going to be going, no, they're bad for the environment, but honestly I use it probably twice a year, and then it does go into landfill, I'm sorry. Some things just do. I have just ordered actually Glad Wrap, an Australian Glad Wrap. I can't remember what it's called. I saw it on Instagram. I love buying things on Instagram. An Australian company that's making Glad Wrap from, or it's biodegradable, and we'll see how it is. It will, oh thank you, yeah, I'm going to do that. Thank you, Dorothy. It's exactly what I was going to do. I'm just working out how big to do it. Okay, so quite big. Okay, so now I'm just beautiful. Okay, snip the end, and that's it. I don't know where I buy the plastic bags. You have to just Google it. I'm sorry, because it's just, I don't know what you'd call them. You know, disposable piping bags. They're really good. They're really good. Okay, so now I'm going to get my beautiful cupcakes, and I'm just going to do a little swirl from the outside. Just like that, okay? Just like that. And you can, it just makes it lovely, I think. It's a really, and it's just going around the edge. I'm no cake icer, let me tell you. I'm no cake decorator. Everything I do is really rustic and really looks like I made it at home, okay? You could also just do a big blob like this. Can you see that? Which is also really nice, just, but then you get a bit more, okay? And then spread it out with a little knife or something. Okay, that's probably too much. Let's start again with that one. Get that one. Okay, so with a knife you can do it, and it also looks nice. So it's up to you. With a knife, just like this. Piping, just like this. If you want to get fancy, by all means get fancy. I'm not going to stop you. And again, they're also just lovely uniced as they are. Okay. Yes, Aura said there were lots of lovely bee decorations. I agree. That would be very sweet to put a little bee on the top of each one. I don't know, I got a few gifts over New Year, and I collected all my bees that I got and all my little mini jars of honey, and they were my table decorations, which was very, very homemade, but very nice. Okay, so that is my cupcakes, and really, I can't think of anything better to make today in this yucky cold day. Whip up a batch, 30 minutes, it takes nothing, and ice it if you like. If you do ice it, and want to leave them out of the fridge, you probably wouldn't want to leave them out for more than a day with cream cheese icing. So then they've got to go in the fridge, and then they've got to come out again. So it might be better to ice them on the day you're eating them. So I would if you're going to eat them on Wednesday or Thursday, put them away. As I said, they will mature beautifully, and then ice them on the morning of serving. Okay, so Nebula's 2001, we're talking about making bees yourself. Oh, that's just way out of my skill set. Yeah, not for me, but I think if you guys want to make some bees, I'd love to see pictures of them. But no, I'm not going to make bees. I'm going to find bees and put them on my little cupcakes. So that is that for the cupcakes. And now I just want to talk to you about tomorrow. We're making cholent. I've got another one in the oven now because I want to show you the finished one tomorrow. Let me run through the ingredients with you so we can all be on the same page. So I know some people don't want to make it if they're fasting. For some people who want to break the fast on meat, it's actually a really good idea because you don't have to cook anything. You cook it tomorrow afternoon, you put it in the oven, and you don't touch it till you take it out again on Thursday evening to eat. The ingredients are as follows. We have lima beans, which are dried. I'm going to show you the lima beans. These are the lima beans. They're just a big bean. You could use cannellini, you could use navy beans, any dried white bean. And I'm using red kidney beans, and I'm using dried beans. And it's better if you can soak them overnight, and the barley, and I'm using barley as well. If you can, measure them now. The measurements are on Instagram. Put them in a bowl, cover them with lots of water, and just leave them out at room temperature till tomorrow. I think it's not essential. You don't have to. They'll still cook. They say that if you soak them, it just takes the gas out of them, and it's much better for your gut and your belly and the people around you. If you couldn't find any beans, someone sent me a picture of the Mackenzie dried bean and barley mix. That would also work. You just want any of these lovely dried legumes. That's what goes in it. You're going to need some potatoes, 2 small waxy potatoes like a Desiree, and some meat. You'll need about 300 grams, 400 grams, 500 grams of either well marbled brisket or I'm using beef rib on the bone. You can use kosher top rib if you like that. You can use beef rib off the bone. You need a piece of meat that's going to withstand slow cooking. Okay, Polizzi, no, the apple won't impact how long they can be kept out of the fridge. They can be kept out of the fridge for 3 days. The apple's been cooked. You can leave an apple cake on the bench for days. I think that will be fine as well. So that's it for tomorrow. Any more questions about today or the cholent tomorrow, I'm happy to answer. If you're gonna make the cholent tomorrow for the fast, I'll show you how to do it, and you might want to do it yourself later in the day. Although you could leave all the elements layered and just cook it later in the day. So if you can get your beans today and soak them, that would be great. And then we'll prepare everything together step by step and put it in the oven. And I'll show you the one I've made before. Anyway, that's it for me today. I am going to head off and do some other exciting stuff. And hope you have a good day. Keep safe, everyone, where you are. If you're in lockdown, stay home, look after yourselves, and it's been lovely spending the day with you. Feels like the day. The 45 minutes with you. It's been lovely. I missed you because it's already Tuesday. I didn't see you since last week. These take 30 minutes, okay? That's all they take. And just feel them and make sure they're cooked, okay? Don't just look at the time and take them out. You have to have some judgment in this because I don't want you to overcook or undercook your honey cakes. So thank you all. Can you use tinned beans? Yes, you can, but I think that... Look, yes, you can. People do. By all means do it. It's just not going to have the same texture. What I love about this cholent at the end of it is that you get a whole top layer of the beans that are partially cooked, and they're sort of almost crunchy on the top, and they just have a beautiful texture. So you won't get that sort of thing, and some of them may turn to mush. But yes, by all means you can. All right then. See you all. Have a good one. Bye for now.